Our next fantasy face-off topic has to do with a mainstay at the wide receiver position over the past 5 years in fantasy football, Calvin Johnson. NFL.com's rankings have him as the number 3 receiver among wide receivers, ahead of names like Demaryius Thomas and Jordy Nelson. That surprised me. Is he a top 3 receiver still for you?
I think he still is. I just cannot pass on Calvin Johnson. If he's sitting there on my board when I'm drafting, wherever I am drafting, I just can't say no to Calvin Johnson and take one of those wideouts that you mentioned. Enamored with that size, with that frame. Golden Tate still worries me opposite him. But when you have Matthew Stafford, you know you're going to chuck the ball a ton. And Calvin Johnson, when healthy, can still go up and make those plays. I think he's the closest thing to what Antonio Brown is in terms of being a guy that could win that most catches in a season, most yards in a season, most touchdowns. So I am not going to pass on Calvin Johnson as one of my top 3 wideouts.
I'm a little concerned that he's missed a few games over the past couple of years. That bothers me a little bit. If it's just 1 year, I don't think so. But the last couple years starts to kind of look like a trend. He did still finish as the number 13 wide receiver last year among wideouts in fantasy, despite missing a few games. But for me, I want a couple other guys. I want Demaryius Thomas still. I want Jordy Nelson for sure. I think Jordy Nelson is my number 4 wide receiver.
He'd be my biggest argument over Calvin.
Yeah, for sure. So we're split on it, but hard to say no to Megatron.
Exactly.